Hey everyone, and welcome to today's drop. Today's drop features Sean Kelley, VP of Comms at Frax, a next-gen stablecoin infrastructure built for scale, built on their very own Fraxtal blockchain, an EVM network designed for scalability, low fees, and seamless integration with the Frax ecosystem. Welcome, Sean.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
Thank you very much. Dialing in from the other side of the world from me. So watching the growth and adoption of Fraxtal playing out is quite something. Working with leaders at both federal and state levels to bring regulated payment stablecoins into the financial system and leading the race to the first legal digital dollar. So Frax has evolved from a stablecoin project into a full ecosystem with Fraxtal. You've got lending markets, staking, and RWAs. How would you describe the unified vision of Frax today, and what problem is Fraxtal specifically designed to solve in the L2 landscape?
Definitely. Most people know us as builders of algorithmic stablecoin, but more recently we have overhauled our entire offering towards this genius digital dollar future. Our founder, Sam, played a role in that legislation, and we've been building for years to this point where Genius allows for digital dollars to enter the payment system. So in order to design for this future, we built what we call the first stablecoin operating system, which is composed of three main parts. One is the Genius digital dollar itself, that's frxUSD. And the second is Fraxtal, which is the chain, the rails, which allows us to issue, have a lot of scale, high performance, EVM equivalency, so it plugs in really nicely into DeFi, but allows us to do some really interesting things in terms of incentives, growing an ecosystem, making sure everything performs very well. And then the third is the product that we recently released called FraxNet, which is the contracts and the interface that allow people to access this new Genius digital dollar infrastructure. It allows you to mint, redeem, and earn frxUSD against real-world assets that we continue to add. The ones that are backing frxUSD, like BlackRock BUIDL, Superstate USDB, Wisdom Tree, and more, but also other real-world assets as well. So we imagine ourselves kind of as the bridging the gap between DeFi and TradFi in this new world where trillions are coming on chain through digital dollars. Stable coins are beginning to be accepted in the payment system, and we aim to be one of the small handful of stable coins leading that charge.
Well, you're certainly leading that charge. That's for sure. So I jumped in at quite a deep level there to begin with. Maybe let's go back a few years. It would be great to know how you've actually got to this position. And I know from within Portals, our BD team and our head of BD, John, he's been in contact with you guys for, I think, 2 or 3 years now, and he's forever banging the Fraxtal drum. But yeah, let's give a bit of context, how you actually started out, a bit of the backstory as well.
Okay. So backstory of me is I was previously a mechanical engineer, and then I started building in the IoT space, managing a fleet of thousands of kiosks, like robots throughout the United States. And from that, I got really interested in DePIN as a way of incentivizing hardware networks to be built up across the world. And from DePIN, I went into DeFi, and I'm always looking for things that are new, like builders who are building from first principles and innovating. And when you do that, it shows up in the numbers. And so when I was looking into DeFi, Frax just stood out as a project that had innovated in multiple aspects in terms of being able to have some of the highest yields on their stablecoins, highest yields on ETH liquid staking as well. Staked Frax ETH is one of the highest performing LSTs of all time. And they've done that through innovative incentives, design mechanisms. And then when they went to go build Fraxtal, is the same thing. There's a lot of differences between the way Fraxtal is built and other chains are built that we'll go into in this podcast, which result in a very interesting ecosystem that attracts builders who want to innovate in DeFi.
Thank you very much. So moving swiftly on then, Fraxtal is an EVM equivalent and built on the Optimism stack, but with your own data availability layer and a very different point incentive system. What were the key design decisions that push you towards modular rollup instead of a more standard OP stack chain?
Yeah, so this is a common theme when Frax builds is that we like to have complete control over the stack for many different reasons, because we're always working on the bleeding edge of what's possible in DeFi. And so we want to have control over every single aspect of what we're building. And we have the technical ability to be able to do that and support it. For some projects, they just want to have the standard setup. And it's great that we have providers that make spinning up a chain as easy as clicking a couple buttons. And we see that as well in the stablecoin as a service field as well. You can now build a stablecoin with a couple buttons. But certain teams will have very opinionated choices in terms of what they're trying to build and changing the existing model. So some of the things that Fraxtal does that is unique is, and we'll go into this, is the FLOX incentive system, as well as just building for scale. We want to be one of those chains that is able to process an extreme amount of throughput, built for payment grade scale, as well as distribution of incentives. So one of the key benefits of FraxNet and frxUSD as a Genius digital dollar is that we have FraxNet rewards that pass on rewards for holding frxUSD. And so you can imagine if there's hundreds of thousands of holders of frxUSD and they're on FraxNet and they're all getting real-time distribution of rewards for holding it, that is a chain that needs a ton of scale. And that's why we've made some of these design decisions.
Thank you. Do you mind? I'm actually going to talk about FLOX if that's okay next, because you mentioned it,
Yep.
and I think we should discuss it, which is your incentive model. It rewards both users and contracts. Can you explain how FLOX rankings work in practice and why you think the model is more sustainable than, say, the simple fee rebates or airdrop farming?
Yeah, so the beauty of FLOX is its flexibility and its programmability. So the way FLOX works is similar to the Google PageRank algorithm. So it identifies the most important smart contracts and accounts in a blockchain network by looking at the links between them and which contracts are interacting with the most number of accounts. And that's how you end up with a certain link in Google appearing at the top of the search results, because it's essentially a trusted link that people are constantly linking to, has a quality, good source of information. That's what allowed Google to, kind of disrupt the search algorithm market. And similarly, we built our incentive system for Fraxtal to do the same, to look at which are the most important contracts in terms of building network effects, and then those get a higher weight in terms of earning those points. So that's one factor of it. And then the other factor is that as a team, Frax is able to incentivize the actions, the assets that they deem most important to the growth of the network by assigning multipliers on top. And that helps inform our users, this is what's important on our network, this is where we're trying to grow. And the combination of those two things make a really flexible system that allows us to influence user actions.
Nice. I like the multipliers and the tiered system. Makes it a greater incentive, really. So the FXTL token, FXTL will eventually become a tokenized asset. Or let's say FXTL will eventually become a tokenized asset. What should developers and early users understand today about how FXTL points may map to future governance or utility in the Fraxtal ecosystem?
Yeah, so we've been building out a way to convert Fraxtal into tokens for a while now. We actually just posted a proposal to postpone it for, under these current market conditions. But I think the important thing to understand is that the Fraxtal points are kind of like icing on the cake. Like if we do our jobs right, the Fraxtal as an ecosystem is where you want to build regardless of these additional incentives. And so the incentives should just help inform, you know, what assets are important, and then also reward those smart contracts and projects that are succeeding, regardless of what their connection to the team might be. So you see with other ecosystems that you have to apply for grants, and there's always like subjectivity in the process or biases in the groups. For example, one chain might really want to focus on gaming, but then you turn away, other sectors that might have the potential to be successful in your ecosystem and drive a lot of user adoption. And so by having this kind of unbiased algorithm that is assigning these points, it creates a more even playing field for people to join in. But Fraxtal should just be an incentive icing layer on top. People should want to come because of the liquidity, of the DeFi innovation, of the quality of and security of what has been built on Fraxtal.
Yeah, and the huge reputation comes with it.
Definitely.
So I was going through your websites and your docs, obviously, in the build up to this to just get way more granular. And I loved the Frax Name Service. Okay. I hadn't come across it before until this week. So the Frax Name Service is a major extension of ENS logic, right? But with native Frax economics. Why bring naming and identity on chain for Fraxtal now? And what kinds of applications do you hope builders experiment with using like FNS? That's the Frax Name Service, by the way, guys.
Yeah, Frax Name Service. Frax Name Service is a great example of the way we build and always trying to bring value back to Frax as an ecosystem. We view our ecosystem as this digital nation of people who are interested in the bleeding edge of DeFi and traditional finance as well coming on chain, especially with FraxNet and the release of accounts where you can essentially have an on-chain bank account that's earning better rewards than you would get at your actual bank, and all of that is tied in through your Frax username. And you see other projects, they kind of extend ENS, and then you end up with like dot something dot something, and it ends up as like a longer suffix. But we have the ability to build from the ground up and have it just be .frax, which is great. And then it burns Frax and is one of a number of things that we're going to continue to introduce to help burn Frax to offset emissions. And the other main one is Frax is now gas on Fraxtal. So that's something unique with us as well. So as the economic activity picks up on Fraxtal, more Frax is burned, and eventually we'll become deflationary, which I think is a really amazing goal from a tokenomics perspective.
That is really amazing. Wow. So much just happened in that answer. I must say that when I was putting this together, I try and keep these two within 25, 30 minutes. So everyone's time poor and attention spans, let's say, are shrinking these days. But I did find it hard to get these 10 questions prioritized on the main topics because you are doing so much. Anyway, let me move on. So look, you've introduced Frax Mesh, a unified bridge system for native assets like Frax, frxUSD, and frxETH. How does Mesh change the UX of moving stablecoins and LSTs around the ecosystem compared to traditional bridging approaches?
Yeah, so bridges are a topic that people have struggled with for a while in getting the right UX flow, getting the right cost structure. There's just so much friction involved in past solutions. And we actually started out by building our own bridging system called FraxFerry, mainly because if we were to prioritize what's most important to us, number one is security. because if you're in DeFi and something goes wrong from a security perspective, it's very hard to recover from that, especially when you're in the stablecoin business where stable is in the name. So step one is always build from security first principles. And by building FraxFerry from the ground up, that allowed us to have complete control over the security of the system, because bridge hacks are one of the most dangerous things that can happen in terms of size, and it tracks a honeypot. But we have since evolved the FraxFerry system to use LayerZero's technology. LayerZero has built a world-class bridging, and their token standard oath just allows for order of magnitude change in terms of user experience, cost, and they have an incredible developer experience as well. So we use LayerZero in order to transfer across 20 plus chains our major assets. Everything happens in, you're talking seconds instead of 15 minutes to hours that you see with other bridging solutions. Natively issued as well, so you're not seeing different prefixes and suffixes and issues with liquidity fragmentation. And then even when it comes to LayerZero, because it's open source, we actually run our own instance of it, which allows us to have control over the security of the system. And yeah, it's an incredible solution, and it helps us as an asset issuer have high performance and scale. And then what really helps us as well is the combination of LayerZero as a cross-chain bridging solution, but also Fraxtal as a home base. So this allows us to, rather than switch from Ethereum as like the hub each time, we actually use Fraxtal as our hub with a system, we call it the hop system. And so when you go from one layer two to another layer two, you're actually going to Fraxtal first, and that allows us to have a hub and spoke model, which keeps efficiency high, cost low, and speed as well. It's great.
Big up to LayerZero, and what a great mechanism you guys have designed there. So obviously, I've got more to get through here, so I'm going to move on. I'm going to talk a bit about your DA layer. That's the data availability layer. It's one of Fraxtal's under-discussed features, let's say, moving data availability to multiple backends and even IPFS. Why invest in your own DA layer rather than relying entirely on EIP 4844 blobs, for example? And how do you see DA evolving for L2s in general?
Yeah, this just goes back to us wanting to have complete control over how we build, and having opinions about what the best way is. Uh, Data availability is very important to an L2, and especially as we want to push high scale, high performance, and build out more features. So having that own custom layer allows us to have control over how we want to implement it. And then posting the multiple backends just gives us extra redundancy and security. We take that stuff very seriously. And then it allows us to open up the field, because data availability is kind of an evolving field. There's a lot of players in the space. So it allows us to, pick and choose what we think is best for the future of the protocol.
So FraxETH v2 introduces a completely new borrowing and validator pool model. This allows external validators, basically. And what was the motivation behind opening the validator set, and how do you ensure it stays secure and properly collateralized?
Yeah, so FraxETH v2 is an example of another innovation in terms of how DeFi works. So yeah, it allows for validators to come in and borrow ETH from the system, and increase the capital efficiency of their validation operations. Yeah, still early stages for that, but yeah, very interesting.
Managed to pick that one out, though. Okay, cool. To be discussed in future days. So for developers then, who are building new protocols, Fraxtal now has oracles, the API 3, Redstone, okay? You've got indexing with Goldsky and the graph. the extensive RPC support. Where do you think the biggest opportunities are right now for new DeFi builders inside the Fraxtal ecosystem?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much going on in DeFi. I think there's a lot of interesting things happening in terms of tokenization and real world assets. So I think, when you're making a decision about where you want to be, we're not really a social fi chain. Granted that, a social fi project is welcome to build on Fraxtal, but when I think about who is most likely to build on Fraxtal, it's someone who's interested in specifically DeFi innovation, new ways of lending, borrowing, tokenizing, things like that. The future of the payment system, frxUSD is built and FraxNet is built to plug into the payment system once a lot of these payment networks are starting to look at genius digital dollars and how to integrate them. So we see a lot of on-chain liquidity coming through that means, and more traditional finance operators looking to get blockchain exposure. So any DeFi project building in that space, I think Fraxtal is one of the best options.
Excellent. Well, we'll share this far and wide so protocols and builders get to see it, hopefully, and move over and start building on Fraxtal. Look, it's been great. Finally, I'm looking forward. Fraxtal has clearly an ambitious roadmap around L3 portals, expanded DA backends, and FLOX algorithm upgrades, etc., etc. What are the next milestones that teams building on Fraxtal should be paying close attention to over the next 6 to 12 months? Again, another plug so we can get this out for more builders.
Yeah, so I think right now we're in this stage where we've kind of laid the foundation for the stablecoin operating system. Fraxtal has been around for a little bit now, but FraxUSD is, we just recently crossed 100 million TVL, which is kind of like the first stepping stone. I think we're going to start seeing a massive acceleration over the next couple months in terms of large investments coming in, stablecoin white labels coming in, and all of this stuff will drive more TVL into FraxUSD and then more TVL into Fraxtal as well. More TVL just creates this story of Fraxtal being a chain that is growing, and builders want to build on a chain that is growing and has, a specific use case in mind. So the more we establish that, the more builders will come looking to access that liquidity, access the systems that we've built that are, highly secure, built for scale. And we have some successful projects already, and those as well will be great use cases for more builders to come.
Awesome. Look, Sean, as you know, I've told you already at the beginning, and our audience probably knows this by now, having seen these. I keep them short and sweet. It's all about Fraxtal. It's all about you, your project, and how we can share the right information far and wide. But we always end with a final question, which every guest receives. It's a game. It doesn't mean anything, and it won't ruin anyone's street cred. But look, today the total TVL of DeFi, as per DeFi Llama, is 119 billion. In fact, that is of now. 3 hours ago, it was 122. What's your prediction for this number at midnight on the 31st of December 2025? And in fact, we should probably specify a time frame. So I'm going with UTC, midnight UTC on the 31st of November 2025.
Yeah, so I think we're at peak fear right now. So my prediction would be to just, find a local bottom and then start going back to all-time highs, which I think was around 180. So the recovery starts now, if not soon. And I think, by the end of the year, we can get back to like 150. But, obviously that's, 6 weeks away or whatever. We're building here for years. I think we have a tendency to get caught up in the short term. But when you're building for years and when you're building for decades, which is a hard thing to imagine in crypto, which hasn't been around for too many decades, but that's, Frax is an example of a project that we're building for decades. So short term, some recovery, I'm guessing, but longer term, trillions are coming on chain, and we're positioned to capture some of that.
Very conservative. And I totally agree. We're all building for decades. We're all in this for the long run, right? And we do sort of treat the last 3 or 4 years as very, very much the beginning. So yeah, nice answer. In terms of number, you're going to settle with 150 by New Year's Eve or not?
150.
Nice. I suppose I should actually put in my own vote. I should have done that, a month ago or so.
Well, you've seen all the votes.
I've seen all the votes, but then the votes are all in public now on this podcast, aren't they? So
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. All right. Look, it's been so great having you, Sean. Thank you very much. I hope this has been, in fact, I don't hope, I know this is going to be extremely useful for our huge network of builders and users. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure.
Cool.